The Golden State Warriors will make history on opening night for their upcoming NBA season because they have now just set a record with having the most players who are the age of 35 or above. They have four players who are age 35 and above. The oldest is Al Horford at 39. After that is Stephen Curry at the age of 37. Jimmy Butler at the age of 36, and Draymond at the age of 35. Two out of four of these guys have already had their birthdays recently in the last month or two. Al Horford turned 39 during the summertime. Jimmy Butler turned 36 in September. So they won't age as the season progresses, while Curry and Draymond's birthdays are going to be upcoming in the next several months. So those guys will be 38, 36 by the time the playoffs start. So that's something to keep in mind. But with that being said, the Warriors are a really old team now. There's no way around this. And it will definitely affect their ability to contend. I know some people are really high on the Warriors based on what happened last year towards the end of the regular season and with their ability to upset the Rockets with the success they had in doing that. Some people say if Stephen Curry didn't get injured against the Timberwolves, they would have won that series. But I think it's important to look at why Stephen Curry got hurt. Stephen Curry got hurt because of his age. That's what caused him to have that injury. I think it might have been like a hamstring that he suffered from or a calf strain. I forget, but his injury came due to his old age because when you're that age, you're gonna get those types of injuries. They're just inevitable. It's just part of being old. That's like the unfortunate reality. And I say this as someone who's older than even Curry. You tend to get these nagging injuries that you didn't get when you were younger. It takes you more time to recover. And those things definitely happen more often and they're not really in your control. Even if you're in good shape and you work out and do the right things, you can still get hurt. So I think Stephen Curry's injury is just like a microcosm of just him being old. And you could say the same thing with these other Warriors that they have, the three other guys that they could be prone to getting hurt due to their age. They can get random injuries out of nowhere. So I think this will be a major issue for the Warriors all year, to be honest. Maybe he doesn't show us rear head during the regular season and they get lucky, but it's hard for me to imagine then that they wouldn't get injuries in the playoffs. I just find it hard to believe that all four of these guys will remain healthy. And also, you look at the Warriors from a depth standpoint, they're not really a deep team that can give these guys adequate rest from what I see on this roster. I'm just not convinced that these guys will not be overspent as the season progresses. I think the guy who will be overspent the most is going to be Draymond Green because the Warriors don't have a legit center. Quinton Post, I think, would be a solid backup center on any other team, but he's definitely not a starter material. And you look at the other guy that the Warriors have at center, I'm just looking at the list, is Marcus Bolden. He's not amazing at all. There's nothing special about him. They don't have Kevon Looney anymore. So they're a team that's very weak at that position, which means Draymond will play the center because that's what Steve Kerr did during the playoffs. He started him. And I'm not convinced that can work for a full season. I have a hard time believing he'll succeed playing the center spot for the whole entire year, which probably will lead Steve Kerr to starting Al Horford, putting him at center and having Draymond play power forward. But again, I think Al Horford will get worn down being a starting center because he is now old at the age of 39. Grant, you could say he's been old the last few years, but I just think it's going to have an effect. The signing of Al Horford makes me think of the time when the Spurs signed Antonio McDyess. This was like right after they had won their fourth title during the Big Three era, which was Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili. And it's like after they won that fourth title, they had like that spell of like a few years where they were just in the wilderness and they just couldn't go back to being an elite team. And McDyess was on those teams and he was just way over the hill. He was still solid, but he wasn't like good enough to help them get over that hump because of his old age. And I think Al Horford will be in a similar role to what McDyess was with those Spurs teams during the late 2000s and early 2010s before they went through their renaissance of resurrection with getting Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, Splitter, and you know how that turned out. But I think he's going to be like that. And the Warriors, I just can't see them being contenders the way things are right now due to their age. Four guys above the age of 35 or older. That's part of your 8-man rotation. That's not really a good sign. When I look at it, I just view the Warriors as a bunch of grumpy old men. That should be their title for this upcoming season. They should be known as like grumpy old men because that's all they're gonna be when they can't contend. They're gonna be very grumpy and angry, and I'm here for it, as the young people would say. I look forward to them having infighting within their roster. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this.